Back to one of our top stories this morning. Chaos during President Ramaphosa's question and answer session in Parliament. It seems to have become the norm in the past few years, hasn't it? Well, members of Parliament were demanding that the President give answers about that robbery at his Phala Phala farm. But he refused to answer, saying that law enforcement agencies were still investigating the matter. But very angry MPs were having none of it, especially the EFF and the Democratic Alliance. So let's unpack what it actually means as far as getting answers and whether this is good for the National Assembly. Let's speak to political analyst Thabo Shole Mashao joining us this morning. Thabo, good to have you with us on eNCA. Always good to speak to you. We'll talk about the chaos in Parliament and the Speaker having to try and shout at various political parties. We'll get there in a moment, and if this is the way that it should be done and should be conducted within the National Assembly. First of all, your thoughts on the President refusing to answer the DA's John Steenhuisen saying, well, if the President can speak to the authorities, why can't he account to us in Parliament? What do you make of the President's silence?
Another missed opportunity. Good morning to you, Gareth, and good morning to your viewers. Another missed opportunity on the side of the President, once again, to take the nation into its confidence and to openly say this is what had happened. He does not necessarily have to go into thorough details, but he can at least give us a broader picture of what transpired on that fateful night and subsequent days. I think he missed an opportunity once again to put this matter to bed, because his detractors will definitely exploit this issue for his political demise, especially ahead of the ANC December conference, the elective conference in December. But one more important thing, Gareth, is that it also undermines the authority of Parliament and sets a negative precedent, because next time, either you and I, who can be called to Parliament, or ministers or members of other members of the executive who will be called to Parliament, or any form of legislature, they may actually follow on the President's footsteps and refer to him and use him as a reference point and say, I cannot answer, the matter is in front of the police, I'm not going to do this. And it really does put a stain on the President and really torpedoes the work of Parliament.
Talking about the work of Parliament as well, we saw how upset the EFF MPs were getting as well. It wasn't the first time we've seen them getting up and getting so upset with the Speaker even having to intervene as well. A lot of criticism that in the end, actually, you weren't even able to hear what the President was trying to say, even when he was trying to answer a question. What do you make of this, the way the EFF is handling the situation in Parliament? Is it a case of they've now just had enough and someone needs to stand up and do something, or is it actually just so disruptive it's not helpful for the public or for Parliament?
The EFF has got a political strategy and a parliamentary strategy to put this matter on the center of South Africa's attention. And they are doing exactly that. And their strategy is working for them simply because you and I at this present moment are talking about it. Yeah. If it were not for that strategy, we wouldn't be discussing the issue of the President refusing to answer one more time, because it would have been easily swept under the carpet and it would have been story 3, perhaps in the news cycle of today. But due to their strategy, which is working for them, it is disruptive, it is chaotic, and it is not pleasant at all. But the EFF is not known for any pleasantries, it's not known for any decorum at all, and this strategy is working brilliantly for them. So having said that, however, it does somehow destabilizes the harmony of running Parliament. But it's not up to the EFF to ensure that Parliament runs harmoniously. It is up to the Speaker, and they are making sure that they remain relevant and they are holding President to account. They have said this, Gareth. They've said that after the Phala Phala issue or the Farmgate matter, as we've come to know it, they've said that the President will always be disrupted every time he comes to Parliament. They've said that he will be treated like former President Zuma as well until this matter has been dealt with. And the President is literally handing them ammunition by not coming out. If he came out, mentioned critical issues, not necessarily in detail, and said, this is what happened on the day, this is my thing, and I'm willing to repeat it in court, the EFF would be seen as the biggest clowns, but the President is fueling the fire with his silence.
So do you think it's actually achieving anything in the end, or is it just the theatrics as well? Not taking away at all how seriously they want the president to answer questions, but the way it's being done. It's not the issue of what's being done, it's the way it's being done. Is it helpful at all? Because some people are saying you're never going to see the president reacting positively to how the EFF are demanding answers. And then it certainly wasn't helped at all, as you used the words fueled on, that the president wasn't even in the National Assembly physically. It was done virtually. That upset the EFF, something else as well.
One, it is yielding the dividend of publicity on the side of the EFF. The EFF get to speak to their electorate through this matter, especially ahead of 2024, and they are demonstrating what is it that they are doing in Parliament actively to their constituencies directly. So on the publicity dividend, it is definitely yielding that. The second thing, it is placing political pressure on the president, on the African National Congress, and on the ANC caucus in Parliament to always have their backs against the wall, to come up with answers, to spin as much as possible, and the more they spin, the deeper they go. So it is placing political pressure on the ANC in Parliament and obviously at Luthuli House. And the president obviously also knows that he can't just come with a two-sentence cooked up response and think that it will suffice. So every time he deals with this matter, he'll have the EFF at the back of his mind. So it is working for them in that instance, but it is also working for South Africans, because now at some point, those who are responsible for advising the president have now realized that the silence strategy is not yielding any results. It is not working. The matter is not going away. Sooner or later, the president will have to answer. And if it were not for this, to be honest, Gareth, yesterday the Speaker wouldn't have recommended that the whips deal with this matter and come up with a solution as to how Parliament should work it out.
John Steenhuisen, DA leader, of course, saying on eNCA that the first time in 15 years, I think it's a decade and a half, he's been in Parliament, where a live question has been left out on the floor and a Q&A session has been postponed to exactly do what you're saying, leave it to the chief whips as well. It just is beginning to look as though the National Assembly doesn't really know how to handle a situation like this. Let's rather stop what we're doing, go back and try and let somebody else do the work of Parliament. Is that the sense you're getting?
It's a sense I'm getting, and it's a sense that the Speaker should have done a little bit of homework, but they walked in thinking that they will dispense of the matter, and in mind they just had the EFF's disruptions. They did not foresee that it will crumble out of control as far as technicalities are concerned. And homework was definitely not done, and it can only spell good news for South Africa moving forward, that any subsequent president who comes through and does not answer, there will be consequences to that. So to answer your question, it gives me that impression that, yes, they were haphazardly coming up with solution, especially from the Parliament side, from the Speaker's office. They were thinking, what can we do to put this matter to bed immediately? Hence, then they asked the whips to, the chief whips to convene this morning and to make sure that they come up with something that can appease not just the African National Congress in Parliament, but all parties as well, because it has spilled out of control. And the horse has already bolted. Now it's up to the president to, and if really I were to advise the president, I would say, rather don't wait for what the whips are saying. Write to the Speaker, tell the Speaker that you have reconsidered this issue, you respect Parliament, and you think that you are responsible and accountable to Parliament. So you will give on this date the full account of what had happened, and you will answer fully to Parliament.
I appreciate your time, as always. Good to talk to you. Political analyst Thabo Shole Mashao joining us here on the South African Morning.